story that I was telling, because the devil is definitely busy today. So in this movie, he did what's natural to do when you start to have money. He went and bought a car. And he really came looking for the woman and the child that he had abandoned. I haven't looked at the movie in a very long time. So he went and, he was trying to find him. He was in town and he happened to go past this firehouse. And these white trash firemen were starting to hassle him. Yeah, when I say white trash about them, they were truly trash. So they were already giving him a hard time and hassling him about his car. And they hassled him about the car because they didn't believe he deserved this car. And they believed he didn't deserve it because he was black. Okay, we just gonna call that what it is. He don't believe you deserve it because you're black. And so he went to do something, and when he came back, they had scooped some horse shit onto his car. Yep, I'm a born-again Christian. Yes, I just said a curse word that describes manure. They scoop manure. Now, it's always interesting to me, both black people and white people's reaction to something that is definitely racist. And I had to examine my own mind on this one. Would I have just hosed the car off and went on about my way? Because you already know, in that time period, during that time, black people had very little rights. Okay? And the possibility of being able to get these mugs to do anything to correct the situation, probably between slim and none. Because we're not talking about the racism that we experience today, where we have a right to sue them and defend ourselves against such actions. We had no such recourse back then. And even if we had to took them to court, the chances of the court system doing anything to make them, make them either replace the car or do anything else, probably between slim and none. At the same time, I also know what it is like to work for something. I also know what it is like to set goals, get a job, work, save money, and do what you have to do honestly to get the things you want, only to have some redneck, or in this case, probably even another black person, do something to mess up something that you worked hard to get. So I could not 100% be team, dude, just scoop the shit off your car, hose it down, clean it really good, and roll on. Because really, our refusal to confront white people who do wrong things to us has not worked and has not helped race relations. Because you now have white people who still think that they have a right to just come on and do whatever the hell they want to do to black people, and us be okay with it. And you now have black people who think, well, let me just come on into your neighborhood and show my complete ass and have you be okay with it. Ironically, one of the pastors that I had to leave had a saying where he would say, unconfronted behavior remains unchanged. Now, the time that he said it to me, he was saying it about a man who was cheating on his wife. And all of the signs were there. And, just like most cheaters, when the pussy gets real good, they stop coming home. Okay, they start really getting sloppy. First, you start noticing little things, but then over time, they start getting real bad with it, and to the point where they stop coming home. And so, never did I think he realized that this particular thing was going to apply to him sooner or later. And I feel that way with racism. Like I said before, watching tapes of, this is why white people think that they have a right to walk up to you and ask for your ID, even though they're not the security for the apartment place where you live. This is why certain ones of them feel like they have a right to pull certain things. Okay? I had to leave because they kept trying to get me because of sexual misconduct. And it just as much involved, and it involved black men, but it also involved white men just as much. This is one of the reasons why, because there's been a whole law system that has protected the white supremacy. And on an unconscious level, still protects it. And unfortunately, right now, black women's shut mouth grace ain't working. Unfortunately, shut mouth grace is not going to work, because the more you keep your mouth closed, the more the idiots think that they have room to keep doing stuff. I was looking at an African commentator, and she was talking about the whole Twitter controversy where people lost their jobs. Why do people think that because a white person is South African, you need to watch them harder than you watch anybody else? Okay? And that's just how I feel anymore. I remember when they announced that one of, what's his name? Not Bezos, the other fellow that just bought Twitter. Now, why did I know he was only buying Twitter so that he could put Donald Trump back on Twitter? I knew when they said he was buying Twitter, I knew that's probably going to be the reason why he buys Twitter, to let Trump back up on there. So while y'all busy in your church being fly and monkeyed by your pastor to mess with and do crazy stuff, you need to be paying attention to where you need to be paying attention and interceding on behalf of the nation, because there's a bunch of mess going on. Yeah, I knew he was going to make a way for Donald Trump to get back on Twitter. If you're an immigrant, I wouldn't vote for Trump. I'm looking at these speed bumps. Evidently, somebody got tired of people using their parking lot to turn around. Which, look, I can't be mad at them, because if it were my business, I probably would be tired of that too. But as a person that drives, I think it's comical. So watching how you vote, don't vote for Trump. And I remember confronting him on your worst day. There's absolutely no way you thought he was more qualified than Hillary Clinton. And so it kind of shows you how people feel about women in leadership. But the whole thing, she was talking about Twitter. His name isn't Bezos. I can't remember the one South African guy that's got about 12 kids with 50 and bazillion different women. Anyway, they stood up for themselves and decided to lawyer up, because she said, the way that they were treating Africans in comparison to how they were treating Americans, there was a stark difference. She said some people were getting severance packages and they were forbidden to look for other work. I'm like, how are you going to tell somebody not to look for another job and you're about to end their job? Anyway, so she said when they found out that they lawyered up, they decided to change their tune. And so now, they're ready to now negotiate with him. And I thought that was interesting. Standing up for yourself pays off. And so, but I remember reading about him and his father both have multiple kids by multiple women. And they're not married to the women either. Now, usually when you hear about that stuff, unfortunately, it's attributed to black men. This guy is white. And I was thinking about it, and I said, don't you find it interesting that we are now just hearing that this man has all these kids with all these different women? I'm like, but a brother can barely bust a nut without the news, the media being right there. They practically there with the woman. They practically in front of the woman's birth canal as she's giving birth. But this wealthy white billionaire has been manipulating, having babies out of wedlock with her. And the funny thing is, his girlfriend, she wasn't his long-term mother. She was a person I choose not to. Doesn't claim that's getting pussy from you on a regular. If all you are is a staffer or somebody like, I saw, because